Mary had a little lamb.
The fault. We believe that all men are created equal.
To the magnificent mosaic that is America.
From radio beacon to radio beacon. I have a dream today. Change has come to America.
Believe it.
Knock, knock. Who's there?
It's a figment of your imagination.
Randi Rhodes Show.
Turn up your mind.
Well, I'm only involved from the standpoint of they are very anti-Jewish and they're very anti-Israel. I think it's disgraceful, the things they've said. You have lists of, this isn't just a one-line mistake. What they've said about Israel and Jewish people is a horrible thing, and they've become the face of the Democrat Party. So I did absolutely put out a very strong statement. I think if you look at their language, if you look at what they've said, if I ever said it, it would be a horrible month, to put it mildly. So the things that they've said, Omar, Talib, what they've said is disgraceful. So I can't imagine why Israel would let them in. But if they want to let them in, they can. But I can't imagine why they would do it.
This is bizarre. This is unprecedented, and this is very, very bizarre. And by the way, it took me all of, an hour last night to read the Constitution's speech and debate clause. Anybody? Speech and debate clause? Yeah, it's in Article 1, Section 6, Clause 1 of the United States Constitution, the speech and debate clause, or speech or debate clause. Now, what does that say? It says that members of Congress will not be intimidated or should be called out by the President of the United States in any other place except Congress. Why? Because they are free to legislate any way they want without fear of the almighty president intimidating or interrupting their legislative duties. So let's just add that to the impeachment of Donald Trump, that he, just tag it on to the end, right? Because you got all these obstructions, you've got aiding and abetting, you've got, he's an unindicted co-conspirator, you've got emoluments clause violation. You got a lot. It's going to be a lot. But don't take your eye off the prize that he will face articles of impeachment. I just say let's tag on the violation of the speech and debates, or speech or debates clause in the Constitution, because that is what he violated yesterday. It's unprecedented. No president. Now, the easy way to explain it, is just to say now he's exporting hatred, and that Bibi Netanyahu has actually accepted the offer of the hatred by the president. And let me tell you something, for those of you who give a damn about Israel, I know a lot of people say they do. I'm not really sure why. You people who care about Israel but aren't Jewish have become the spokesman for Israel, or my spokesperson. I'm not sure how Donald Trump became my spokesperson on all things Israel. Not really sure how that happened. But it seems to me that Donald Trump is going to cause the demise of the Jewish state. And Bibi Netanyahu will be giving him a live assist. Why do I say that? Because if the perception of Israel should change or shift away from what it is, and that is a free and open democratic society in the middle of the Middle East, which is why you're supposed to care about it. I don't think people care about it for that reason. I think people care about it because something to do with the rapture, something to do with the apocalypse, something to do with the unsealing of the seals, right? And that we all, meaning Jews, have to go back to Israel, right? And then we have to be killed there. Yeah. And then after we're all dead in Israel, then the rapture will come. See? And like 144,000 Christians will be taken up, and the only thing left will be their cute shoes. And, God will come back and smite everybody else. This is what, Christianity is about. And some people like Israel because it's the place of the Jewish demise. That's just a fact. But you should care about it because it is a democracy in the midst of the Middle East. That said, if it loses its perception as being an open society, a society that wants to welcome all people, to see that it's a normal place, to see that it has tourism and a viable economy, and that people go to work every day, and that people can protest if they want to. People have different opinions about their government, as a normal democracy does. If Israel is now perceived as a closed society, or a place that somehow is not open to counter views, or to people who would fight against something apartheid-like, then Israel ceases to be a democracy, and therefore it loses all of its value. It seems to me that Trump has been plotting the demise of Israel for a really, really long time, and this is part of what he's doing to create all kinds of bad feelings towards this particular country. And Bibi Netanyahu is so desperate because, he's facing an election. He couldn't win last time, so he's got this new election in September. He can't put a government together. Nobody likes him. He's an uber right-winger, and he really is in trouble electorally, and so he's agreeing to export this Trump brand of hatred. This is dangerous. And so for anybody who is concerned about this only democracy we have in the Middle East that is an ally with the United States, this ain't good. This is freaky. This is like really super dangerous. And let's remember, Donald Trump is an anti-Semite, okay? The idea that this is also like backdoor stuff, but there's a method to my madness. You know why I keep reading to you these 36 cases of violence that have occurred where the shooter or the bomber or the pipe bomb sender has either in real time praised Donald Trump, or you got the Nazis hail Trump, you got those guys, right? And the reason why I make you very conscious of all of that is simple. It's because those people need a defense, and Donald Trump seems to want to give the real anti-Semites among us, the real Nazis, the real neo-Nazis among us, he seems to want to give them a defense, right? Because they're his guys, they're his supporters. Everyone who is sane at this point agrees that Donald Trump is emboldening white supremacists, neo-Nazi groups, Andrew Anglin supporters, social media hacks who get on the internets and put out conspiracy theories, and Donald Trump, of course, has tweeted anti-Semitic memes like the one with Hillary Clinton and the Star of David and the money. Remember that one? Yeah. And then he changed it, the shape of the star, to look like a sheriff's badge, right? Remember that? Yeah. Donald Trump is truly an anti-Semite because these people are for Donald Trump, and Donald Trump is so transactional that if you're an anti-Semite, if you're a white supremacist, if you're a hater of whoever, Donald Trump will support you. So this was the creepiest part of yesterday. Okay, yeah, he had this off the rails rally, another idiot, idiot cheered on, idiot, deplorable rally. I mean, it was disgusting. But even before he got there, he was on the tarmac saying these hideous things. And after he talked about the fact that he believes, and this is, it's a lie, that Ilhan Omar and Rashida Tlaib they hate all Jews. He actually put those words in their mouths. They hate all Jews. It has nothing to do with anything that they're about. They hate oppression. They hate apartheid. Okay, they're for democracy. They're for freedom of expression and freedom of movement. They're for freedom to assemble. That's why they're Democrats, okay? But on the tarmac, he was ranting about these shooters, right? And he was almost offering them a defense. Now, remember, there is a defense in our justice system called defense by reason of insanity. Now, his defense that he is putting out there for these shooters is the insanity defense, but it's also cover for the NRA and Mitch McConnell, who don't want to do anything on gun violence. And he's signaling that. This is really twisted.
Clear.
All things Randi at RandiRhodes.com.
Go for launch.
Speaking truth to power, the Randi Rhodes Show.
look at that very closely, and we're looking at the whole gun situation. I do want people to remember the words mental illness. These people are mentally ill.
Oh, my God.
And nobody talks about that. But these are mentally ill people. And people have to start thinking about it. I think we have to start building institutions again because, you know, if you look at the 60s and 70s, so many of these institutions were closed. And the people were just allowed to go onto the streets.
Oh, my God.
And that was a terrible thing for our country. They closed them. Cities couldn't afford them. And they closed them. I mean, I can tell you in New York, they closed a lot of them. And the people went out onto the streets, and it's a terrible thing. But a lot of our conversation has to do with the fact that we have to open up institutions. We can't let these people be on the streets.
Oh, my God. First of all, methinks he does protest too much. Second, were any of these shooters, El Paso, Dayton, any of these white supremacists homeless? Were they living on the streets? Answer, no. They were spending inordinate amounts of money on ammunition, guns, and more guns. They had plenty of money to spend on guns. They were not mentally ill. It just seems to me that he is giving them a defense and also signaling to Mitch McConnell, don't worry, I'm not going to force the issue of an assault weapons ban. Don't worry, I'm not going to force the issue of background checks on you. You could do your red flag laws just so we could say we did something. You know, and by the way, white supremacists, just say you're mentally ill. Say you were, you're not guilty by reason of insanity. This man is dangerous. These are the real anti-Semites among us. We do have a problem with white supremacy in this country. We do have a problem with hate and hate groups in this country. We know Christopher Wray testified that that is true and that the number of hate crimes in this country is through the roof after Donald Trump, and that it correlates with whenever he has a rally, something really hideous happens, like nearby. So he went to Pennsylvania. We had this crazy guy. Well, he wasn't crazy. We had this guy in Philly who was, a drug dealer. Another drug warrant being served. And then we had this standoff for 8 freaking hours. And these guys have weapons that the police are begging to get off the streets. They're like, why are we facing this kind of firepower? And then the hashtag Blue Lives Matter. And nobody addresses the fact that Americans, untrained and 20 years old or 23 years old with hate taught to them and hate all around them and posting on Stormfront and 8chan and 4chan over here. And this one and that one and, encrypted apps and Gab and all these Discourse and iFunny and all these people are leaving all these messages all over the place that they hate, but they got arsenals and the police are like, we need protection. Could you please do something about the guns? He signals to Mitch McConnell and to all the Republicans and to the NRA, we're not going to do anything about guns. We're going to blame it on the mentally ill is what we're going to do. And how many times do I have to tell you, mentally ill people are more likely to be the victims of violent crime than they are to commit violent crime. And it wasn't the 60s and the 70s either. In 1980, now we have a long-ass history. There's a whole timeline of mental institutions and their various, different lives in this country, beginning with the freaking colonies, okay? We've done everything to the mentally ill. We've warehoused them. We've treated them like crap. We've put them in rodent-infested, bug-infested environments. Then we sterilized them so that they should never procreate. I mean, we have done everything. Then we shoved them through, you had Big Pharma get involved, and then they prescribed Thorazine so people could sit there and drool on themselves all day and never get treatment for whatever. I mean, we have treated the mentally ill like some sort of a pariah in our society instead of saying, oh, hey, your appendix is malfunctioning. We'll remove that because, it's poisonous to your body. You'll get septic if it bursts. But for some reason, the brain, we don't concentrate on that particular organ so much. Then we decided, we'll cut that brain out. We'll do that too. We lobotomized people, literally cut out the frontal lobe of their brain. Even the Kennedys had one of their daughters lobotomized, and so now basically in 1980, Jimmy Carter signed something called the Mental Health Systems Act. Look it up. It was a restructuring of community mental health centered programs. It was to improve services for people with chronic mental illness. You know what happened there in 1980? You know what happened there? Yeah, Jimmy Carter did not win. Why? Well, Ronald Reagan apparently, when the Iranians took Americans hostage, he had a back channel. Yeah. And his back channel was saying, hey, wait out Jimmy Carter. Don't release the hostages. If you do, he'll win. And you don't like him. You don't want him. I'm better for you. I will sell you tow missiles, Iran. And, pretty much as Ronald Reagan was getting sworn in, the hostages were being released on a split screen. That's power. That's a very powerful, president from the minute he's sworn in. Wow. Yeah, that was a back channel deal. But anyway, so Carter loses and Reagan comes in. And under President Ronald Reagan, they passed the first budget, right? The Omnibus Budget Reconciliation Act. Every president has to pass the budget. It's always the omnibus. Well, now, no. Now we do it incrementally. We do it day by day, pretty much. Anyway, that Omnibus Budget Reconciliation Act repealed Jimmy Carter's community health legislation for community-based mental health care, to keep the mentally ill close to their families, to keep them with the same therapists in their community. And Ronald Reagan decided, I'll do block grants, and I'll give block grants to the states. So the federal government had zero role in providing services to the mentally ill. And then, in the budget, he decreased spending of all kinds on mental illness by 30%. And that's what happened in New York. But see, Donald Trump has absolutely no sense of history. Now, you could go back to 1977. We had 650 community health facilities that were serving almost 2 million mentally ill patients a year. In 1977, when Jimmy Carter was president. And then he wanted to expand on it because it was a good thing. It was a helpful thing. And Ronald Reagan ended it. 3 years later, okay? There was a study that showed that 30% of the homeless people suffered with mental illness, and they couldn't find. And then also there's a little dirty little secret in Medicaid. Medicaid, when it was passed in the 60s, excluded mental health care. It literally went out of its way to exclude mental health care. So all the president is doing is giving a defense for white supremacist shooters and guys like Cesar Sayoc and guys like this Klimo guy. I don't know if there's real anti-Semitism in this country. But Tlaib, but Ilhan, yeah, they're not a problem. I'll tell you what is the problem. Bibi Netanyahu is destroying Israel, and Donald Trump is giving him a live assist. This is frightening because it is the only democracy in the Middle East. They are destroying it. He props up every white supremacist he can think of.
Call in, connect. To speak to Randi, call 561-270-3844. 561-270-3844.
And you've been reading about this a lot lately. We are working very hard to make sure we keep guns out of the hands of insane people and those who are mentally sick and shouldn't have guns.
Sick.
But people have to remember, however, that there is a mental illness problem that has to be dealt with. It's not the gun that pulls the trigger. It's the person holding the gun.
Why does the gun have a trigger?
Years ago, many cities and states, I remember it so well, closed mental institutions for budgetary reasons. They let those people out onto the street. You probably have your examples up here. I can tell you in New York, they closed so many of them, and they let really seriously mentally ill people out on the streets. And you see plenty of them today, even today. We're going to have to give major consideration to building new facilities for those in need. We have to do it.
We have to warehouse people. We have
and at
to.
the same time,
not guns.
We will be taking mentally deranged. Dangerous people off of the streets, so we won't have to worry so much about that. A big problem. We don't have those institutions anymore, and people can't get proper care. They're seriously ill people, and they're on the streets. We can't make it harder for good, solid, law-abiding citizens to protect themselves. We will always uphold the right to self-defense, and we will always uphold the Second Amendment. We will.
And there you have it. There you have it. He will not do an assault weapons ban. He's going to do nothing on guns, absolutely nothing on guns. All he's going to talk about is warehousing people, not warehousing weapons. This and he is giving a defense to these people who are going to say in court now, and we've seen it even with the guy who, threw a 13-year-old boy down to the ground because he didn't take his hat off for the national anthem. So the guy claimed he had a traumatic brain injury because he was in a car wreck in 2000 and said that he was an ex-Air Force dude. And he said, he thought he was taking orders from the commander-in-chief. Well, I'm an ex-Air Force dude, and I never thought I was taking orders from the commander-in-chief. I thought I was taking orders from my drill sergeant in basic training. And then after that, I thought I was, getting orders on paper about where I would be, living. And what tech school I would be going to, and then after that, what flight line I would be working. I never thought the commander-in-chief was speaking to me. So, and this whole thing with let's warehouse people, it seems to be his answer for everything. Everything is like cleanse. We need to cleanse ourselves and using terms like from the 1800s, deranged and insane, and what are these terms he's using? Why does he feed this ignorant beast? You've got plenty of people who are successfully managing various illnesses and living good lives in spite of the fact that their chemistry betrayed them somewhat. And that's all it is. That's all it is a chemical imbalance. You have schizophrenics who are successfully treated, bipolar disordered people who are successfully treated, all depression. I mean, people used to, just off themselves. They still do when they're not treated properly. And this man is, standing up there telling New Hampshire, keep your guns. We're going to warehouse people. That's what we're going to do. Oh, and by the way, they can use the insanity defense. Listen. And at the same time, he's talking about, he offers no treatment suggestions to this crowd, none whatsoever. Just warehouse people, right? And then he's in court trying to undo the ACA, which does provide for mental health care. This is the twisted world in which America has been sucked into. Bringing people together? Yeah, you saw it last night. He brings people together as they circle the drain together. He brings people together like kids in high school who hide under desks together. He brings people together like 50 police officers in front of a house in Philadelphia, northern Philly. That's how he brings people together. This is a really sick and twisted man. And, he did go down the Omar Road, but the audience was, I didn't bring it, but the audience was ready to start the send her back anti-Semitic, racist, hateful, chant. And he heard it. And so he quickly switched the topic. Quickly. Believe me, because he didn't want to have to deal with it. Everyone with a brain knows what Donald Trump is doing is dangerous. And it's out of weakness that he does this. This is total, complete, abject weakness. And Bibi Netanyahu is so weak in the polls in Israel for his, next effort to keep his prime ministership alive, that he reeks of weakness. reeks of it. This is the sickest thing I've ever seen. It's unprecedented. I have never, ever seen a president export hatred in this manner and some democracy accept his help, which is almost going to guarantee the demise of both of them, really.
Well, I'm only involved from the standpoint of they are very anti-Jewish and they're very anti-Israel. I think it's disgraceful, the things they've said. You have lists of, this isn't just a one-line mistake. What they've said about Israel and Jewish people is a horrible thing, and they've become the face of the Democrat Party.
I got news for you. The Democratic Party is the party of Jewish people. The Republicans are like, Christian fantasticalists or whatever you want, fantasy, lovers. The Jewish people in government are typically Democratic. So here's Barbara Boxer.
Well, weak leaders squash dissent.
Yep.
Trump looks so weak. What is he afraid of? And so does Benjamin Netanyahu look weak. Now, I've been to Israel many times, been to the Middle East many times, and the wonderful thing about those visits is how open everyone was to dissent.
Right.
Even the taxi cab drivers, let alone the members of parliament and all the leaders, whether it was Likud or Labor. This is what a democracy is. But I just think this is one giant diversion. Trump doesn't want to talk about the coming recession, which might be upon us. He doesn't want to talk about a volatile stock market. Jeffrey Epstein's death that happened on, the Trump administration's watch over the Bureau of Prisons.
Interesting take, Ms. Boxerhouse. She's always been a very smart person. It's sad that she's not a current senator, but it's a distraction.
Clear.
This is the Randi Rhodes Show. To speak with Randi, dial 561-270-3844. That's 561-270-3844.
Israel today followed President Trump's suggestion and banned a visit by Congresswoman Ilhan Omar from your home state of Minnesota, as well as Congresswoman Rashida Tlaib of Michigan. What was your reaction to that?
I was actually pretty stunned, and the fact that the Prime Minister did this right after a tweet from the President. I'm a strong supporter for Israel. I believe that they are a beacon of democracy in the Mideast. But you know what a great democracy should do? A great democracy allows for vociferous debate on issues. That is true. But they don't shut out American elected congresswomen from visiting. And that's what they did. And the president, in precipitating this with his tweet, again, conducting foreign policy by tweet. Which will end when I'm president, is just the worst. He is literally exporting intolerance. And I'm glad that the major Jewish organizations have come out against this and says, well, they don't agree with the words, as I do not either, of these congresswomen on this subject. You don't ban them from visiting Israel. That makes you weaker, not stronger.
Everybody agrees. And it's weakening Israel. And it just seems like that's what Trump is feeding the anti-Semitic, neo-Nazi group. And that plus a defense of, just claim you're insane or some crap like that there. So Trump takes the swipe at not the real anti-Semites in this country, not the people with the arsenals, not the people who target, immigrants or who target Jewish synagogues, not the Poway people, not the people that attacked the synagogue, the Tree of Life synagogue in Pittsburgh. Oh, no. He attacks two duly elected American congresswomen, which constitutionally he is prohibited from doing. It is, just go read Article 1, Section 6, Clause 1 of our Constitution, and you'll see that the President of the United States is not allowed to intimidate or otherwise take the independence from a legislator away by speaking of them in any other place but the House or the Senate. That is what the speech or debate clause is, and Trump has violated that too. So, hey, listen, let him tweet. All it cost us was the relationship between Israel and the United States, so what? That is why AIPAC spoke up. AIPAC is exactly the lobby that Ilhan Omar was talking about. She never said she hated all Jews. She said, and they were saying, that lobbyists pay legislators to support positions that are always pro-Israeli positions. And she's not wrong about that any more than I would be wrong to say that the oil and gas industry pays and has fundraisers for legislators who legislate for oil and gas interests. Speaking of which, that is what he's talking about with Greenland. Greenland, I think we all saw that last night on the Twitter sphere. If you didn't, the Wall Street Journal had an article late last night that was published that said that your president, yours, that I have, right now he's acting, right? He's an acting president, I guess. But they said that Donald Trump was mulling purchasing Greenland. And you know why Greenland is on his mind? Well, first of all, he probably thinks it's green. Just saying. But obviously, Greenland is going to open themselves up to oil and gas drilling. They sit on some of the most abundant oil resources, like billions and billions of barrels of oil and billions of cubic feet of gas, natural gas. And they've invited, in 2021, they're going to invite people to bid on onshore drilling. And the Chinese, 2 companies so far, are very interested in doing business with Greenland. That's why Donald Trump, and today Greenland responded. They were sleeping last night when all this Twitter stuff was going on. They were sleeping. And then they finally woke up this morning and they went, has he gone mad? Answer, yes, he has. It wasn't a very long distance he had to go mad. But all of his friends and everybody in the White House and all the private conversations in the GOP is that this man is stark, raving, disconnected. That he is totally unfit to be president. He doesn't understand any of the topics that he's, talking about. He doesn't understand trade. He doesn't understand our economy. He takes credit for things he has not done. African-American unemployment, he was screaming that last night, too. Again, let's just, reiterate it for you. During Barack Obama, black unemployment was about 17%. Barack Obama took that number down 10 percentage points to around 7%. Donald Trump has moved that from 7% to 6%. So Barack Obama, responsible for a 10% decrease in African-American unemployment. Donald Trump, 1% decrease in African-American unemployment. He's a liar. He's a fraud. He's a cheat. But he's deciding to do all this crap by tweet, which what could the problem be? Let me tell you something. This is what really amazes me. Here's Israel. Israel is a country that is sitting in the middle of thousands and thousands of years of Jewish culture and civilization. And they are taking advice from a man, an idiot who measures time by his next tweet. How weak is Benjamin Netanyahu in this coming election? And it's the election's next month. Very weak. And dangerous and frightening. Bibi Netanyahu is a goon lackey of Donald Trump. He's also been indicted. His wife has been indicted. This is, birds of a feather. I feel terrible for our country. And I feel terrible for anybody who takes Trump's advice or who lives in a country where your leader is taking Trump's advice. It won't turn out well. MC in Denver, or Mick in Denver?
Hi, Randy.
Hey, which is it?
It's Mick.
Okay.
Short for Michelangelo. So I don't want to, your type guy would, he'd be exhausted typing my name. Anyway, I'm sorry.
That's all right.
You got a great. I called you the first day out of the gate. Show's been going really great. I watch on Free Speech TV and on Progressive Voices Radio.
Thank you.
And stuff. And I'll be taking care of podcasts here. I promise you also. Keep you guys going. But the reason I called was because tonight I got a call from some people from my congregation, synagogue. So I'm going to go and put my 2 cents in. And my 2 cents basically is going to be this. Israel, not the people or anything, but the people that hold the reins right now, really bad move.
Bad.
Because all Israel had to say, listen, we'll let these ladies come in. You know, they want to speak and, you know, they want to have their say and all that. That's fine. We have nothing, to be afraid about.
We have nothing to hide is what they should. Right.
Yeah.
If they have nothing to hide, then why are they hiding everything? That's always the question, and that's what's so dangerous for Israel.
Right. Well, I read Haaretz and stuff, and like last night, a lot of people were saying, well, everybody in Israel loves Trump. No, everybody in Israel does not love Trump. No. Actually, a majority of people really dislike
Think about
Trump.
this. Think about this, okay? In the negotiations between Israel and the Palestinian territory, okay, the one big item, the one thing that was really easy to solve, obviously, was where should the embassy be? Should it be in Jerusalem or not? Right? He freaking does that, and now there's absolutely no easy negotiation to be had. Right? It was the easiest move to make, but you always save that one for last because it is so easy. Yeah. I mean, this guy has been selling Israelis down the drain, just like he's selling Americans down the drain.
Oh, he hates the left wing in Israel, and so does Jared and family and all that, because basically what they want to try to do is to bring justice to both sides of the equation. They've been doing that forever, as you all know. I know you're very well read and stuff. So the situation there is that right now, bad move for Israel, and on top of that, to take the word of someone with an IQ of half a pear.
Really? It's unbelievable. And I don't know if you saw what happened at the Rhode Island with the Jews that were peacefully protesting at a...
Yes.
Did you see that?
Yes.
Okay, so the next hour after the break, I'm going to play that because people have to see that. So here you had a bunch of Jewish young people very, very peacefully protesting in front of an ICE detention center in Rhode Island. Okay, these are some of the oldest Jewish communities in America, Rhode Island, right? And wait till you see what this ICE truck driver did.
Mary had a little man.
The fault. We believe that all men are created equal.
To the magnificent mosaic that is America.
From radio beacon to radio beacon. I have a dream today. Change has come to America.
Believe me. Knock, knock. Who's there?
It's a figment of your imagination.
Randi Rhodes Show. Turn up your mind.
When I say justice, you say now. Justice. Now. Justice now. When I say release the, you say kids. Release the. Kids. Release the. Kids. When I say release the, you say parents. Release the. Parents. Release the. Parents.
All right, so this is a bunch of peaceful Jewish protesters in Rhode Island outside of an ICE detention center. Yeah, we had to bleep some of that. But that is what that was. There was a bunch of young people who are associated with the organization that was attacked, by the way, for helping Jewish refugees. You know, the one that Donald Trump said George Soros was, remember all that anti-Semitic stuff about Soros, right? And the Jewish people that, actually help refugees resettle here in the United States because Jews do not forget to remember. It's built into our DNA. We're taught never to forget the way we were treated from the minute we're born, from the minute God breathes life through our nostrils. We are reminded never to forget to remember what happened to us and to never sit idly by if it happens to another group of people or to us again. And so that's why you have young Jewish kids who are, part of the synagogues, who are part of the temple, doing peaceful protests. And that guy, that ICE officer in his truck, just woo, like he was going to drive in, like a Heather Heyer moment, God forbid. And some of them were injured. Now, let me show you what happens on Fox News in the face of that. Okay? This is what Fox News edits that video to be. Now, I showed you, that they were just outside and you're saying, when I say release the, you say kids. When I say release the, you say kids. That's what they were chanting. And when I say release the, you say parents. Okay? Outside of a nice detention center. Peaceful, right? Here's Lou Dobbs.
ICE protesters in Rhode Island harassing a federal detention center worker last night. These demonstrators blocking the entrance to a facility holding illegal immigrants. When the driver tried to pull in to the parking lot, the protesters surrounded him, yelling, banging on the hood of the truck, blocking his entrance into the facility.
They proactively
in jurisdictions all around the country, by the way, what they committed is assault. Trying to stop and block a vehicle is considered assault. In some instances, banging on an occupied vehicle is considered assault, which obviously the demonstrators may have committed in Rhode Island last night.
You see, now this is why I told Lou Dobbs to his face to go F himself. I don't know if you remember this, but the reason why I'm I'll skip it. Let me just say this. I was on Lou Dobbs' show every Tuesday. Every Tuesday, I used to go to 58th Street in New York. That's where CNN is. And I would be on Lou Dobbs' show when he was on CNN. However, Lou Dobbs was taping that show. And Lou Dobbs was also selectively editing that show. And he was saying, horrible things about immigration on that show, even back then. And I was the token liberal that was invited to come and argue with Lou Dobbs. But if I won the argument, which was all the time, Lou Dobbs would edit what was actually ending up being aired. And one day I couldn't take it anymore. And in the middle of a recording of his show, I literally, the idiocy, the lunacy, the craziness of him, the lying, the willingness to lie, the misinformation, disinformation, the alternative facts that he would, I just stood up in the middle of the recording, okay? And this is probably why I don't get invited on cable anymore. And I told him to go F himself. I literally said it to him and walked off the set. Now, you can't do that in TV, in corporate television, although I will say Larry King never closed his door to me. And as long as Larry King had a show, I was always invited on CNN. Always. Paula Zahn, I don't know if you remember her, she used to like to argue with me, too, about rape. She loved to argue with me about raping and how, rape is not an issue, whatever. It was a very sick channel for a little while there. But I used to show up and I used to go, okay? So Lou Dobbs edits that and then says that these people assaulted the ICE truck driver. I mean, this sounds like an episode of Dexter, the ICE truck killer, because that's what this ICE truck driver was attempting to do. He was going to drive his truck into these kids.
When I say justice, you say now. Justice. Now. Justice now. When I say release the, you say kids. Release the. Kids. Release the. Kids. When I say release the, you say parents. Release the. Parents. Release the. Parents.
Okay, now watch this guy drive up. Oh my God. That is what happened. He edits the video to begin in 3 seconds from this so that all you see are the kids pounding on the truck. They're doing it because they're terrified. He nearly killed them. He nearly killed them. Stop. And that's the party shows. See what I mean? This is what I'm talking about. It's like selective editing. This is just like so amazing. This is so freaking bizarre. And this is what passes for information on the disinformation channels. Now, of course, Lou Dobbs has been relegated to, a channel that has about 3 viewers, like Donald Trump, Lou's ex-wife, to see if he's still working to pay the payments. And Lou. Fox Business. But I mean, this was and this is what I'm talking about. Does the president say anything about this? Does he say, when he's talking about anti-Semitism, that a group of Jewish peaceful protesters who help immigrants resettle in this country were yet again attacked by a person who works for him, who works for ICE? Does he say this man, we're going to look into it, we're going to put... No. They misrepresent what happened. And he talks about Omar as an anti-Semite and Tlaib, and they're banned from Israel. Unprecedented crap in this country.
No American congressperson had ever been barred from Israel, but this was an extraordinary act. President Trump got them to block 2 of his political opponents, and it turned this feud into a diplomatic incident.
I think it would be a terrible thing, frankly, for Israel to let these 2 people who speak so badly about Israel come in.
President Trump said allowing the first 2 Muslim congresswomen into Israel would show great weakness, claiming they hate Israel and all Jewish people.
Oh, that is so sick. That is such a dirty, ugly lie. The people who really hate Jewish people are the people who drive their trucks into crowds of Jewish kids, or the people who shoot up synagogues and kill 11 people, or the people who shoot up synagogues in Poway and take a rabbi's thumb off. Do you know what I mean? And killed 1 person. It's so off the hook, and it's so black as white, and it's the 2-minute hate. It's so Orwellian. It's freedom is slavery, war is peace. This is a president who is always aggrieved. He's the victim. He's the one that's being presidentially harassed. And he literally goes after anybody that disagrees with him. Literally goes after them, no matter what's at stake. And that could be the whole American-Israel relationship for all he cares, right? The survival of Israel for all he cares. The lives of these protesters for all he cares. He couldn't care less. Why? I mean, there's very fine people on both sides, and, Heather Heyer ended up dead, But there were fine people, fine neo-Nazis that were there.
All things Randi at RandiRhodes.com.
Go for launch.
Speaking truth to power, the Randi Rhodes Show.
Okay, now, he's really lost it. And, the the Danish government agrees. They said that he's gone mad, is what they've said. And Anthony Scaramucci, I don't know. I mean, I hope you listened yesterday, because that was a really, amazing prediction that Anthony Scaramucci made. I'll play it for you again if you want. But he said that Trump is not even going to run in 2020. And then he talked to Vanity Fair. It's in the homework today, the interview with Anthony Scaramucci that he just did with Vanity Fair. And he says not only isn't Trump going to run, but he's going to, you'll know that he's not going to run in March of 2020, because it will become completely obvious to him that the polling is so bad that he cannot win, and his ego will not let him lose, so he will remove himself from the nomination, and somebody from the Republican Party will have to step in. Now, of course, I've been telling you since last March that Howard believes that it will be Mitt Romney. Howard always believed that Mitt Romney was just waiting for Trump to deteriorate to the point of no return, and then he would primary Donald Trump. But if Donald Trump removes himself from even being considered, that would be something, and it would change everything for us. I just want you to know. It would change the whole dynamic for the Democratic field, right? I mean, if you had a sane person, and this is what Tim Wise told us on the last After Hours podcast, is that the only regret the Republicans have with this man is that he's mad, he is narcissistic, and he is a sick person, and he's stupid. So their lesson that they learned was not to, not do things but to pick somebody smarter than Donald Trump to do these things to us, to give all the money away to the rich people, right? So that's freaky, but he is definitely insane because here he is. This was right before the rally last night. He was leaving to go from vacation. He's on vacation. This is what he does on his vacation. He has a rally. It's fun for him. So he was on the tarmac yesterday, and he was saying that New Hampshire, where he was headed, had been stolen from him. This is just another one of his crazy conspiracy theories, right? Yeah, New Hampshire was stolen.
All over the place. Everybody's saying, wow, our competitor has virtually no crowd. I don't know what that means. I assume that's a poll of some kind. But I think we're going to do very well in New Hampshire. New Hampshire should have been won last time, except we had a lot of people come in at the last moment, which was a rather strange situation. Thousands and thousands of people coming in from locations unknown, but I knew where the location was. But I think we're going to have a tremendous success in New Hampshire. These are great people.
Some people came in at the last minute, and I know who they are. We should have won New Hampshire. Okay, so then last night he shows up at the rally, and he actually doubles down on this in front of this live group of QAnon people.
We should have won New Hampshire. That was taken away. New Hampshire was taken away.
Taken away.
It was taken away from us, but we should have. We did great in New Hampshire. We should have won New Hampshire, but that's okay. I'm not holding it against you because it was not your fault.
It was taken away. It was taken away. We should have won New Hampshire. Listen, he needs treatment. You know, if you want to be compassionate about mental illness, he is mentally deteriorating in front of your eyes. In front of your eyes. And it's not just, people who watch him, with an eye on democracy. It's not just people who watch him with an eye on anti-Semitism or watch him because, he is heinous towards African Americans and really ugly towards Hispanic people, which is just about everybody in our country at this point. No, it's also his friends, okay? It's his friends. It's people around him. They understand that he is mentally deteriorating.
See, what he's doing with the racial divide and sending out the racist, inflammatory tweets is he's sending a license to hate and a license for people to be angry in the country. The economic policies, Eric, are not...
My good friend, 2 years ago,
the economic policies are not
2 years ago, you were
working.
there defending Donald Trump, President Donald Trump, after Charlottesville, and saying the man's not a racist.
Go look at the tape. I said that the comments are reprehensible. Go look at the tape. It's George Stephanopoulos. I said the comments are reprehensible.
Yeah, but you stayed with
he's
the
not
man.
a racist.
You stayed on board the Trump bandwagon
I did
for the better
until
part of
he
2 years,
continued
until this
to
week. What happened?
Eric, come on, watch what happens here. He's mentally declining. He's losing a step here in terms of how he's thinking about human beings. And he's creating a corrosive, socially dividing cancer in the country. That's not worth the economic.
And that's,
by the way,
that's something that you feel is happening recently?
100%. Yeah, that started with the send the people back and then the send them back chance and then the attacks on Elijah Cummings in Baltimore. He's trying to divide the country. His move is, let me get as many people in the base up as possible. Go look at the swing state voting numbers.
This is how we got elected, Anthony. This is how the country was looking for something different. And the way to do that is to appeal to
a crazy person.
The country's tired of this. This is not even Trump derangement syndrome. This is now Trump fatigue syndrome. The country is tired of this, okay? So, but here's what's going to happen, okay? And I predict this, okay? He will not run in 2020. That's my prediction.
Oh, my God. Now, if you go to randyrhodes.com/homework and you look at the homework section, there's a Vanity Fair interview with Anthony Scaramucci. Now, he says March 2020 is when Trump will actually remove his name from being considered. That's wild. That's because it will change everything for us. It really will. I mean, if you gave people a seemingly sane but equally cruel a guy who was going to foist, these economic policies trickle down and give the rich the rest of the money, and somehow it'll trickle down to you one of these days, maybe not in this century, but perhaps in the next one, or let businesses, be giant conglomerates and push out the small business owners, push me out of the, broadcasting, whatever, because, you don't want to play the corporate game. And if you don't see it eye to eye with a corporation, then you don't deserve a chance to work or be heard or seen or whatever it is. But if they pick somebody who looked saner or who wasn't as dumb and who wasn't as much of a demagogue and or a fraud, they're saying that suburban housewives who refuse to vote for Donald Trump at this point, and you can't win without suburbia, you can't win without women, you can't win without black women, you can't. And none of these people are going to vote for Donald Trump. But if you pick somebody that was a little more sane, but just as cruel, that person could win and continue these failed economic policies for the middle class, for people trying to get into the middle class, for workers, for women who want childcare so that they can go to work and not be in the red at the end of the week because childcare is $350 a week and I'm only making $240, which is a huge problem, right? So that would change everything. And we need to think about that. And we need to plan for that. Somebody's got to have a plan for that.
Call in, connect. To speak to Randi, call 561-270-3844. 561-270-3844.
Okay, tell me what you think of this, too.
That guy's got a serious weight problem. Go home, start exercising. There's never been a movement like this, never. Our movement is built on love, and it is.
Okay, here's what happened last night. So they were in New Hampshire, obviously, and there was a guy in the stands who was ripping up signs, okay? And he was ejected from the Southern New Hampshire University amphitheater, whatever you want to call it. And it turns out that, and Trump mocked him and called him fat, which right there, it's like, oh my God, you're going to fat shame somebody? Really? You're going to go down that road? What? I mean, honestly, the man lives on freaking KFC and sweats like a pig when it's 86 degrees. But he's going to fat shame somebody. He's going to do that. And then it turned out, and then he said to his audience 30 seconds later, after he demeans this person because he thinks he's a protester and against Donald Trump, and of course Donald Trump's always the victim and he's always aggrieved and he always has to lash out, finds out that, tells his audience, but this is a movement based on love. It's all about love. After he does that to a human being in public, totally humiliates a man based on his physical presence, his the way he looks to Donald Trump. Donald Trump is a fat freak. He just is. He's just a big fat guy. So that was outrageous. And then, it's all about love. Well, turns out this morning, Donald Trump finds out that guy who was ejected for tearing up signs was tearing up signs that were anti-Trump. He was a Trump supporter, the large man was, that he humiliated in public. And so Donald Trump literally picked up the phone, didn't apologize to the guy, but wanted to see if he was okay after he was ejected last night because he finds out he's a Trump supporter. What is normal about any of this? Is that presidential behavior in anybody's book? Is that normal? Is it okay? Is it passable as normal? The man is so beneath the office. He is so not worthy. He is so unfit. Tack that on too, to the impeachment. All right, Jerry in Baltimore.
Hey, Randy.
Hi.
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Hi. Hey, when you brought up that video there with the guy with the truck,
yeah,
that was a terrorist act because what they did with Heather Heyer, you mentioned, used a vehicle, drove into a crowd,
yeah,
and then in front of with the truck.
Paris, too. In Paris also, that they used cars.
That's what I meant.
Right.
Paris.
Yeah.
So, I mean, these are terrorists. Now, I know Trump isn't going to do anything, but can't the state bring him up on terrorist charges? Because I grew up in Connecticut. That's where I got my driver's license. And the number one rule of the road was pedestrians always have the right of way.
Yes, that's right.
And you cannot drive on a sidewalk.
Good point. Well, Trump doesn't give a damn about any of them. He couldn't care
But
less.
that's Rhode Island.
But here you have a guy who obviously commits an act of, violence. Let's just call it violence, hate crime. Okay, and we don't have a hate crime statute in this country. Statute for Americans who commit hate crimes. We need one. We don't have one. But clearly that driver of that truck was at least he should be ticketed. Okay, and nobody's got a problem with it in the Trump camp. Nobody has a problem with it. But Rashida Tlaib is an anti-Semite because she wants to visit grandma in the Palestinian territories in Gaza. Okay, sure. Yeah, I'm down. Michael in Georgia.
Hi, Randy.
Hey, congratulations to your state in 2020 for the primaries. You guys will have paper ballot backups. The judge just ruled.
Woohoo.
Yeah, woohoo.
Oh, thank goodness.
Thanks, Stacey Abrams.
Stacey Abrams.
Yes.
And, that didn't work out too well.
Now
voting machines just magically hidden in a storage somewhere.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, we couldn't vote because there were delayed lines.
And the judge also addressed your voter registration, situation and said that they have to provide written, purge information for taking people who, are dead, cleaning up the voter rolls, that has to be provided also. So the court is watching you. Thank you to Stacey Abrams. Fair Fight 2020 is her group if you're into it. It's very important.
Thanks.
So congratulations to you.
Well, thank you. I mean, I'm glad that she did it because, having the Secretary of State also running the election at the same time as
what could go wrong?
Yeah, he has no vested interest.
No.
But talking about vested interest, we're talking about this, Trump wanting to bring back institutions and, wanting to be able to, put people in it. Now, my brother, when I lived in South Florida, had a bad day once, and it took like half a heartbeat for him to get Baker acted and then be put on drugs and be drooling. Now, what happens when Trump makes it easier and now someone like, before she was a congressman, Rashida Tlaib, was protesting and was called insane by the president, and all of a sudden she's, put under drugs and put in. I mean, we're talking about political prisons at this point. And that's not a far jump. Like, it sounds crazy.
I know.
But it's not.
Not in his mind, it's not. In his mind, it's a way to actually lash out at people who disagree with him and to punish them. I mean, this man is always aggrieved. He's always the victim. Everything that happened. I mean, he has trashed the economy because of his trade policies. But instead of talking about, China obviously is going to wait him out because they're very patient people and they will keep devaluing their currency to keep the exports going, right? And they will do everything in their power to keep their economy alive, and they will wait him out. They're never going to make a deal. That's why the stock market reacted the way it did this week to the fact that he wanted to put even more tariffs on even more crap, okay? So he doesn't know what he's doing. So China's going to wait him out. China is going to wait him out.
Of course. Why would they ever help him? He's basically put tariffs, which the consumers are the ones who see it. And then he's having to borrow money from them in order to pay the farmers who, are finally, some of them are starting to catch on the grip and what's going on.
But what I'm saying to you is he blamed Jerome Powell, okay, for his mistake. He blames somebody else all the time for his mistakes, for his, inability to. And so what is he doing now? He's using these congresswomen as poker chips. He's using farmers as poker chips. He's destroying alliances that have, served us for 70 years by attacking NATO, etc. Everybody else is, and he claims he's the one that's being presidentially harassed. He's the one that's aggrieved. He's the one that has to retaliate. And he keeps on retaliating against...
He's always the victim.
That's right. So if he feels like, there are certain groups of people that are against him, he'll just declare you crazy and institutionalize you. I mean,
I used to live in South Florida. That, for Cuban Americans to stand by who are Hispanic and have dealt with political prisons, it's insane.
Yeah, it is. That never made any sense to all of us.
This is the Randi Rhodes Show. To speak with Randi, dial 561-270-3844. That's 561-270-3844.
China devalues their currency. They pour money into their system. They pour it in. And because they do that, you're not paying for those tariffs. China's paying for those tariffs. The tariffs are not being paid for by our people. It's being paid for by China. The American taxpayer is not paying for it. China's paying the tariffs. They're devaluing their currency, and they're pumping money in. That's paying for the tariffs. Our people have not been paying for the tariffs. And by the way, our people are not paying for it. So our taxpayer is not paying for very much of it. China is subsidizing product. So the United States taxpayer is paying for very little of it. Our country can take in $120 billion a year in tariffs, paid for mostly by China, by the way. These tariffs are paid for largely by China. Our people aren't paying for those tariffs. In that case, certainly, China is paying for them. Foolishly, some people said that the American taxpayer is paying the tariffs of China. No. It's not that way.
It is that way. He has no idea what he's talking about. I mean, literally no idea what he's talking about. He has no clue about trade. No clue whatsoever. You know what the problem with our trade agreements has always been since NAFTA? The people who write it are the people who benefit. We don't have farmers at the table. We don't have small business at the table when we create trade policy. That's the problem with our trade policy. This man has no clue. Of course you pay. Every importer, when they receive anything from China that has been tariffed by Donald Trump, pays that tariff and then passes the cost on to you. Which is why this week he said, I don't want to screw up Christmas for consumers. So I'm not going to put the 10% tariff on $300 billion worth of laptops and sneakers and clothing because he doesn't want to mess up your Christmas. He has no idea what he's talking about. And you know what's crazy? His supporters have no idea what they're talking about. That's see, I've said this for a couple of weeks now, that Trump's supporters don't need to. They could be the dumbest people on the planet because Donald Trump is stupid. He doesn't have to be smart because his followers are less smart than he is. Does that sound better? Is that a better way to put it? Okay, then let's put it that way. This is you know what the good thing is, because it's Friday, so let's fill ourselves up with joy and hope. Well, speaking of joy, today is Madonna's 61st birthday. I bow down to you, Madonna. I will strike a pose for you in celebration of all the joy that you've brought to my life and all the key moments of my life. There's always a Madonna song that, you think of the Madonna song, you know what you were wearing, you know where you were, you know the great loves of your life, that, which song from Madonna was the one that you guys danced to, so happy birthday to Madonna. There's a little source of joy. The other source of joy for me, I'm so freaking excited. I am going to see for the first time in my life, and I'm an old DJ. I mean, I DJ'd for the first 10, 12 years of my career on the radio. I was a disc jockey. I worked in New York, I worked in Dallas, I worked in Milwaukee, all over the place playing records. And, Seminole, Texas was my first job in radio ever. I played classic country. I had no idea who Ferlin Husky was or Dottie West. I was just playing their music, and some of it was really good. Floyd Kramer, he did the theme song from Taxi, and this was great music, but I had no idea what I was doing. But they thought it was funny because I had a New York accent. Oh, haha. But anyway, I was a DJ, a rock DJ for a good long time, and I have never seen Heart in concert. Can you believe that? So I bought like 6th row tickets about 4 months ago when it first went on sale. I am really a member of the Heart fan club. They call us fan club members. We're Heart mongers. Okay, check me out. So that's how, I'm just so I have 6th row tickets tonight to see Heart. And I'm like so freaking excited. I can't wait. I'm like, what? Okay, so there's some joy. Here's the other little bit of joy, okay? We are going to win in 2020. There is no question in my mind. This country is so tired of him. What I would say, be very wary of, is Anthony Scaramucci's weird prediction that Trump will not run for re-election in 2020, because that'll change every freaking thing. But some of our people have a plan for that, I think. But let's take joy where we can, okay? Let's just be joyful a little bit, because it's freaking Friday. Kelly in New Mexico.
Hey, Randy, how are you? Hey, I hope you enjoy that concert tonight.
I am so excited. I can't stand it. I'm so excited. I don't know what to tell you.
Yeah. I just want to say quickly that I'm just so disgusted with what Trump is saying about the person with mental illness, I should say. I'll just say I suffer from mental illness. I suffer from schizophrenia. I'm just so disgusted what he said, and just to say that he basically used it to basically defend those shooters in,
So let me put it this way to people. Yeah, it's disgusting, and that he uses these old words like deranged and idiot and lunatic and all those stupid things that people said before they understood the brain and chemistry, which is still an ongoing. Scientific, there's two things that doctors don't really understand, and that's your intestines and your brain. And weirdly enough, they're made out of the same material. Isn't that something? So we got.
That is amazing.
Yeah, it is amazing. But we got a ways to go on these two issues. However, Donald Trump is one of those who, if he doesn't understand it, it frightens him. It scares him.
Oh, I agree.
And he wants to punish it, right?
Yep.
So
there you go.
That's all this is about, and it's a shame. It's a real shame. But here's the thing: how could he be for veterans who obviously suffer from post-traumatic stress disorder, which is a mental disorder that is part of trauma? How could he say that he understands the veterans, he loves the veterans, he knows what to do for the veterans, if he's talking like this about people who have mental issues that have to be dealt with by science and doctors and caring compassionate caregivers? How could he say that he's for any of the veterans if he's taking credit for Obama's Veterans Choice Bill, which Obama passed in 2014? Or how could he say that mental illness means warehousing people to him, and talk to the veterans out of the other side of his mouth and say that they need care and they will get it when he's in court trying to undo the ACA, which provides mental health care for everybody? Okay,
well,
of course, he makes no sense. He just reacts to things that frighten him, and he lashes out, and he is a terrified little wussy boy. That's why he's a bully. And anybody from the Republican Party that stands up to him, that's who he attacks. And any Democrat that has a better idea on trade or has a better idea on the economy or has a better idea on income inequality or healthcare or anything, that's who he attacks.
No, it's sad. It's really sad.
It's bizarre. So here's the other piece of joy that everybody should take, okay?
Yes.
This country is strong enough to survive this man as president for 4 years. That is amazing.
Oh, we will survive this, definitely.
Right.
We will get through this.
And that is amazing. And you know what? Today I was sitting there. I was, in the shower. I love the shower. And I was in the shower. Yeah. And I was shaving my legs because there's the concert tonight. I might get lucky. So, right. So I'm in the shower.
Hope you do.
So does Howard. But so, and I'm thinking about isn't America amazing? 20 years from now, when something else happens and it's challenging for our democracy, people will say, yeah, well, we survived Trump. We can survive anything. And that will be the message 20 years from now. We survived Trump, so our democracy can survive anything.
Amen, girl. Enjoy the concert tonight.
Thanks, Kelly. Thanks for sharing your story. I know it's it's not very popular to say what you just said, but I get it.
I know. Thanks very much.
That's fine. It's fine. Yeah, listen, you live a good life, right?
Yeah, I do. Yes.
There you go. Well, thank God for that.
Thank you.
Be well, my friend.
Oh, well, you too, girl. Thank you.
Thank you. Listen, everybody, have a really, really good weekend. Sorry I did not get to all these calls. I'm going to a concert. It's really all I can think of right at this very moment. I know I'm supposed to, perform like a trained SEAL for you at a higher level. And I will. I bring it every day. But I got to tell you, Ann and Nancy Wilson, just thank you for what's about to happen to me. Thank you for performing in hot, sticky, disgusting South Florida at the outdoor amphitheater. I hope when Mistral Wind, I know they're playing it, when Mistral Wind plays and the wind is blowing and the rain, because it's outdoors and it's very stormy, it is going to be one of those once-in-a-lifetime moments. I got chills. I'm so excited. Have a great weekend.